Happy New Year. Happy 2024 for everyone. We're starting 2024 season, the fifth season in our interviews. We started in April 2020. Glad to be here, healthy. Anna Rogers, good morning, Anna. I'm going to invite you very soon. So excited to start the new season with an English interview with Anna Rogers, WTA player, former NC State college player. She's climbing the rankings and of course it's a pleasure to have her and listening and learning from her. You know, we have everybody here, champions, former champions, junior players, and coaches, trainers, everybody, sports psychologists, nutritionists, doctors. So this is a very well-rounded channel. This is what we want, really, to have a diverse channel content. Ready to go? Ready to take off? Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I see some old tennis rackets behind you.
Yes, I'm in my tennis club, and this is the owner's office. So
Wow.
he's got quite the collection back here.
Awesome. I saw Alberto, your coach, joining us. So thanks to him, he made this possible, this connection. So I'm very grateful to Alberto.
Yes, he did. He did.
Is he a good coach?
Yes, he's very good. We've been together for a while, so it's been very helpful.
This is a kind of a random conversation. So this is the way I want to do it. So feel comfortable about it. So what do you expect from a coach, Anna? What are your expectations having a tennis coach?
I do think that all players are very different and not all players can get along with the same coach. But what I look for in a coach is someone who has a good balance between having fun but also being serious. I don't want to be super, super crazy intense on the court. I want to be able to have fun. I think that's really important for me, and it's important for my process of learning as well. But yeah, and somebody that I connect with also off the court. I mean, I think personalities, I have to get along with them really well and see what kind of person they are, how they treat people, how they are around people, things like that. And obviously they have to know quite a bit about tennis and have some experience as well. But yeah.
Good. And listen, are you working on something specific now in the preseason?
So yes, after I played 4 WTAs in South America, and I noticed that the tennis players, the girls at the top in the tournaments, the tennis wasn't anything special. They didn't hit a bigger ball. They didn't do anything crazy special, but physically they were so much better than everyone else. And I took that information and I kind of ran with it, because now in preseason I've been doing on-court fitness 3 times a week, which is way more than I've been doing before, and really focusing on my movement to the ball, my efficiency, getting behind the ball, seeing the ball with my eyes, but nothing really technical, to be honest. Mostly just fitness and efficiency with my movement, as well as getting behind the ball and then working some tactics in towards the end.
Yeah, you said the word efficiency 2 times. What exactly, for the audience? First of all, thank you to everybody to join us. Sorry, by the way, have you been in Buenos Aires? Someone is asking in the audience.
Yeah, I've been to Buenos Aires.
How was the tournament? Good?
It was great. And I love South America because they love tennis there. It's so different from the US, because in the US you go to a big tournament and there's maybe 15 to 20 people watching, but you go to South America or even Mexico and people love it. There are fans everywhere. They have such a good time. They really get into it. But I love Buenos Aires.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
What does mean efficiency? Explain us a little bit more of that. I love that.
Efficiency for me is like you can get to you can get to one place one way. You can take 3 big steps and 2 adjustment steps, or some people take 100 adjustment steps to get to the same place. The efficiency is being able to move in the quickest way possible with the correct steps. So if I want to go out for a wide ball, I'm not going to take 20 little steps to go out to the wide ball. I'm going to cross over, take another big step, and then adjust to hit the ball, to get myself in the best position possible to make contact in the way I want.
You're talking, speaking as a tennis coach right now, like a tennis coach now.
I have a lot of people talking to me, so I'm taking all the information and I'm using it.
So and by the way, after you're finishing your tennis career, you have a lot of years ahead. Are you thinking to be a coach or not really?
I would like to, yeah. I personally could not see myself in a 9-to-5 job sitting at a desk like the one I'm at right now. I could not do that. My brain and I'm so impatient. There's no way. I mean, I think coaching would be really cool. And I don't know if I would travel, but I feel like I would have to come to that hurdle when it appears. But yeah, I think I could definitely see coaching in my future.
Okay, now we're going to go backwards. Tell us about your childhood, your beginnings in tennis, your family. I love to hear about that, learn about that.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Connecticut, and I have 2 parents. I am an only child, so I have no brothers and sisters, very spoiled.
I can. Are you?
I am, yes. I got everything I wanted.
Poor coach.
I know. But no, I mean my parents brought me up very well. They taught me manners. They told me to always share, even if I didn't want to share, which is never, because only children do not want to share anything. But I offer because it's nice. But yeah, I grew up playing 5 different sports.
5.
I was thrown into tennis, soccer, basketball, baseball. I did ice skating, golf. I did a lot. My parents put me in a lot of sports, which I actually think helped me with tennis as well. When I got to about 15 years old, I was just playing mainly soccer and tennis by that point, and I had to choose. So I chose the one I was better at. So I chose tennis.
So you chose at the age of 15?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I played high school soccer, and then I decided to homeschool after 1 or 2 years of high school.
Wow. It's a good advice for parents. You think it's a good advice for parents to put their little ones in multiple sports?
For sure.
What are the benefits, Anna, about it?
Well, I think soccer helped tennis, and I also think tennis helped soccer. I mean, with soccer, I mean, you're running all the time. Your legs get super strong. You're stable when you move. When you kick the ball, you really have to stabilize your hips. But I think that helps in tennis a lot because you have to be stable on your feet as well when you move around a tennis court. And also the soccer helped tennis with endurance, and tennis helped soccer with endurance as well. And just like because soccer is foot-eye coordination and tennis is everything. So I think that playing all those sports, even baseball as well, you have to watch the ball. It's eye-hand coordination. Basketball, same thing, kind of a total body sport. But yeah, so I definitely think they helped with everything.
We have a lot of people in the audience saying hi to you, even from South.
Those are my friends.
It's good. Also from South America. Do you have a good, successful tennis junior career, or not competing too much?
So it's very different. I wasn't aware of the ITF really at all growing up when I was a junior, because I grew up in Connecticut. Tennis wasn't really I didn't know anything about the world. I probably couldn't have told you where South America was on a map. But I usually just played national tournaments in the US, and yeah, I think I played 1 ITF in Canada towards the end of my career when my coach explained to me what it was and how it worked. But yeah, I didn't play much ITFs at all. Actually, I just played national tournaments, and there at these tournaments, there's a lot of college coaches that come to watch. And for me, before I even knew professional tennis was an option, my parents and all the people around me, they were like, okay, we're going to get you to a good college so you can play college tennis there, blah, blah, blah. So it was, yeah.
What would you tell people, parents, coaches, junior players obsessed about UTR?
UTR. I didn't grow up with UTR. I don't know if you know what tennis recruiting is.
Yes,
And I love
I do.
tennis recruiting because it actually, to me, it actually makes sense. You beat certain players and then you become certain stars, or you become a blue chip if you beat other blue chip players. But with UTR, you lose 3 games to someone that you shouldn't be losing to, and your UTR goes down. I to this day, I don't understand it.
You don't like it.
I'm not a huge fan just because I didn't grow up with it. I do think it's accurate to a point where, but I do think it's also inflated because some girls before college, their UTRs are super high. And then they get to college and they're losing to these players, but it's not because like they're around the same level, but it's not I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a huge fan of UTR, to be honest.
Good.
Um,
Good. It's
but yeah.
great. It's great.
I think it's really inflated, and I think it even gets in the brains of the kids as well. Like one of the tournament directors, the tournament that I played in, she told me that this kid, he was told by his father. His father told him to lie about the score when he was reporting the score, so his UTR would go up, and that is just that's crazy to me personally. Like people lying just to have their UTR go up, because the young kids nowadays, they talk about it like all the time.
Yeah.
When I meet young boys, they're like, "So what's your UTR?" I'm like,
Yeah, it's an obsession.
It is crazy obsession.
I disagree 120%. But anyways, college, your life in college, what would you say the biggest and most important lesson that you learned from your college experience?
Ooh, the biggest lesson. The biggest lesson. Looking back, I think the discipline that was installed on us when we were in college, it's very different now. In college, you were there 20 minutes before we started hitting a ball. We would do a full dynamic warm up, do the ladder, do bands, and then start hitting. There's a lot of order. Be there at this time, do this by this, be warmed up for this, we cool down after this. And I think after college, I was so exhausted from just doing that all the time. And I stopped warming up before matches. I wasn't doing a cool down as well as I was supposed to, things like that. So now thinking back, because I do all that stuff now, I kind of brought it back. But in that moment, looking back, it was really, really helpful for me. And I think really helpful for players as well, because you give yourself the best opportunity to do well when you do all of those things correctly.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You've been pro for the last 2 years. Okay, but how long before that you thought about it? You decided I want to play pro.
Honestly, maybe a few months before I graduated. I really didn't think that professional tennis was in a conversation for me. I I didn't know what it was about, and I had no real desire to. But the one thing that changed my mind is I was like, you know what? I'm doing well. I'm playing well. I'm in shape. I don't want to regret it when I get older. I don't want to say, oh, I should have tried, you know? So now I'm living through it, and it's the best decision I ever made.
I have a question for the audience. Amir, the father of one of my former students, very talented junior player in California. He say hello. Is UTR, going back to the UTR, because I think it's good to clarify it, is the single most important criteria for college applications now? He's asking you.
He's asking, is it what?
Most criteria for college applicants now? The most important thing they take into account, the coaches or not?
See, I don't know, because I don't have much experience speaking with coaches, college coaches about these things. I mean, I'm sure they do look at UTR, yes, but my college coaches, they made sure they went to watch people play. They also look at physicality. They like to recruit very tall, above average in height, strong players that are aggressive. But for them, I don't think UTR is insanely important. Like, I'm sure they would take somebody who had more potential that they could develop instead of taking somebody with a crazy high inflated UTR. But every college coach is different, so I can't speak for
Great.
everyone.
How about videos? Another obsession is sending, uh, looking good in videos, practicing, showing the strokes to the coach. I think that it really matters for the coaches when doing recruiting.
See, again, going back, because I only know my coaches, my college coaches, and they didn't really do that very often. I mean, they would look at videos, yes, but they would always say, I have to see them in person to be able to decide whether or not we want them to come here. So I guess videos are important in a way, but in another way, I mean, you have to see how they compete, because somebody can have a beautiful
Mm,
forehand, beautiful backhand, beautiful serve, and not be able to put two balls in the court, you know? So I think that seeing people compete and how they play points and how their attitudes are, I think it's way more helpful than videos, to be honest.
fantastic. Main differences between college tennis and pro tennis.
The energy, I think, is the biggest thing for me.
Energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
College tennis, you have so much energy around you. You have your teammates saying, like, here we go, guys, let's go, get to that ball. I don't know. It's just the feeling. You feel like you're on a team. I mean, you are, but it feels pretty special. And then in pro, you're very lonely, especially girls that don't travel with coaches, don't have a team around them, don't travel with other players. It gets very lonely on the court and during practice as well. Um, but I would say the energy over everything.
And level wise?
Level wise, it's different. The girls on tour, I think, play differently. Um,
What is the difference, and what we can share with us? For the girls, a lot of girls, parents, coaches listening.
what I noticed the most was I think girls on the professional tour are mentally stronger. Um, I think it's tougher to beat them just because, especially when you're playing a player with a lot more experience as well, they're not going to give up that easily.
Mhm.
In college, I could get away with being super physical as well and just outbeating them solely through physicality because I just get an extra ball back, you know? But at this level, you can't survive like that. Like, you're going to have a ball, it's going to be slammed down your throat. If I just try to make balls, it's not going to work. Or I play against a South American in Argentina and I try to make balls, they're going to make 100 more balls than me. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a different mindset. It's a different, like I said, energy as well. And I don't know. I just think they seize their opportunities more, if that makes sense, on the
And
court.
how do you beat those players?
Uh, I find
What do you
myself
have to do strategically, tactically to beat them?
strategically. I mean, you have to find what makes them uncomfortable, what patterns also work the best for you. If you see that they're a super hard hitter,
Mm.
um, slow the pace down, mix the pace up. If they're a super slow hitter, be more aggressive, step in, don't be afraid to miss, come in, maybe serve and volley a couple times. I think you just have to read the player you're playing against really well. I think more than college. I got away with playing the same kind of tennis in college, going through every match, but in pros, I find that I have to adjust the way I play more.
I've seen, probably you've seen too, the players, students, players, junior players, especially training with two, three, four coaches, right? Taking lessons or practicing. What do you think about it?
I do think, I mean, because in women's tennis, it's very common for girls to jump from coach to coach. Like a lot of these girls at some of these tournaments, I see them with another coach, and I'm like, wait, they were just with somebody else 2 weeks ago or something. Personally, that's not how I operate. I like to keep one consistent person and say I know somebody else and they point something out, then I'll talk to my coach about it, if that makes sense. But I mean, everybody's different as well. I'm someone who likes to keep consistency, and other people may like to have a different view or a different look at their game every month. Who knows? It's solely based on preference. But personally, for me, I'm not a huge fan of having 4 to 5 coaches, because then I have so much stuff going through my brain. I'm like, wait, so he told me this, I have to do this, but then he told me something different. I'd rather just it come from one source, and then if something's not working, I get it from another source, and then we work on that.
Strength and weaknesses. How do you deal with that in practice? How do you like to manage your practice time, strength versus weaknesses?
Um, hmm. I mean, for me, my biggest weakness is my attitude on the court. I get very impatient, very frustrated. If something is not going well, I'm not happy. Um, so I've been working on that a lot recently. So going into my practices, no matter how horrible the conditions are, no matter how I feel, no matter how tired my body is, I just try to focus on the tasks at hand instead of focusing on how the ball travels through the air. Because I could be playing horrible tennis, missing a lot of balls, not feeling the ball great, but as long as I'm incorporating my footwork that I've been working on with my fitness um, instructor, then it's good. So there's still positives to take out of it. But as for strengths and weaknesses, I mean, there's just so much to work on. It's like I want to have everything be at the same level. I mean, of course, I'm tall. My serve is should be a huge weapon, which we've been working on as well, and returns as well, just staying more steady, things like that. But yeah, I think just working on a little bit of everything every day or every week is very helpful. Like I don't focus on more things than the other, because at the end of the day, if you focus on just serves and just serving and you have the best serve ever, I mean, you still have a return game. Like you can't just throw away the return game and then expect to serve yourself out of a match, you know?
I know you were in college a very successful doubles player, and you have now at 192 in WTA.
Mm-hmm.
Is right? What makes you a good, great doubles player?
Um, Ever since I was little, I I had a lot better instincts on a doubles court. I was way more comfortable at the net. I have good hands. Um, and it was just so much more fun for me. I like having somebody else on the court with me. I like laughing. Um, I don't know. I think it's a lot more interesting as well. The volleys are a lot quicker. The points are quicker. I think it requires a little bit more skill, um, volley wise, I mean. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel better on a doubles court. I feel way more comfortable, and I love it.
In a recent interview, Novak Djokovic talked about the mental part, and he said there is a battle inside yourself, right? And there is a lot of doubts and fears. How do you deal with that during matches?
That's actually what I struggle with a lot,
But yeah, but what do
because
you do? What are you trying to do to get better, to improve, to go through that?
I mean,
Specifically, something specific.
something specific. Instead of focusing on what you're afraid of, I think, well, for me, focusing on the basics, just taking my mind off of it, focus on hitting the ball more out in front, focus on doing my things. If I'm being aggressive, I need to stay aggressive. It doesn't matter if it's add out 2-5 in the second set and lost the first set. You have to have the same mindset. You have to try. I mean, it's way easier said than to be done, But what I do is I just try to focus on what I can control. If I miss this ball, I miss this ball, but I'm doing it the right way. I'm catching the ball out in front. I'm making sure my body is behind every single ball. I'm staying aggressive. I'm moving them around the court.
Great. Anna, what would you tell the, excuse me, junior players that they get frustrated, easily frustrated, upset in practice when they make mistakes? I've seen that every day. Uh, if you stop by in academy, right, if you see the kids training and they're complaining, throwing rackets, whatever, whining, what would you tell them?
What my coach did for me when I was younger, and I actually think it helped a lot, if a kid's acting like that on the court and I'm the coach, I'm kicking him off the court 100%. If you're throwing your racket, I'm sorry, that cannot be tolerated at all. And they need to learn from a young age, because if they go through life thinking that that's okay, it's going to become a big problem. My dad actually used to do that with me when I was little. I would throw temper tantrums on the court. My face would get so red. I would get so angry. I would cry. And he was like, Anna, get off the court. And then the next day I was ready to go. I was refreshed. But yeah, I just don't think tolerating that is good for the kids, because then they learn bad habits, if that makes sense. They grow up thinking that that's okay, or they need someone to tell them, you need to stop doing this right now, or you get kicked off the court. Or have them go play soccer, relax, and then come back, have a conversation about it, and then go back on court.
Okay. But let's say they're not throwing the racket, but they get negative, pessimistic. What do you stop by next to them? What would you tell them? I mean, they want to do it, but they get so frustrated so easily. What would be your first advice?
I would say look at your strings, look away from the court. If you
Okay,
need
I'm gonna be the student. Let's play a little bit. Anna, but
okay.
I'm not. I can't get the ball inside. I can't get the ball in play today.
I would say, why don't you think you can get the ball in the court today?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Have you tried everything?
Everything.
Have you tried
Everything,
changing
nothing,
the pace of the ball?
Nothing is working.
Nothing is working.
I'm making you think.
No, it's good. No, it's good. I can't think. I mean, maybe I would sit down for a second, get some water, we'll talk about it, and then I'll suggest different things that they can try to make the ball. Or I have them do a drill where they make 5 balls in a row down the middle of the court, or just slow, bringing it back slow. That's what I would do. I don't know if that was the right answer.
Perfect. I love it. I mean, I'm learning from you. I mean, you're a player. Good answers there. I mean, and Paul Forsyth, great coach for him. Just looking at listening to you. This said, Anna, get to top 10, and it's okay to get upset, but don't change your winning attitude. From one of the best coaches in the world, you're getting the advice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never. I always want to win. I hate losing. That's for sure.
What is the key to win aside the attitude, the energy? What is the key to win in women's tennis?
The key?
Yes, or keys, maybe more than one.
There's 2 keys for me. Mentally, you need to be so strong, and 2, you physically need to be so strong. The tennis aspect for me, it's not as important as everyone probably thinks it is, but mentally, these girls at the top, they are machines. They do not break down. They don't give you free points. They will go until the end. And physically, they're in amazing shape. They're not giving up on a ball. They're in every single match. Physically, they're the same way they were in the 3rd set as they were in the 1st set. Those are the 2 biggest things for me, to be honest. It's not even the tennis aspect of it.
Great.
Like the level or technically or whatever, because everyone has different strokes. I've seen girls with no forehands or no backhands or no serves that have gotten to 150 or top 100 or top 200. It's just everybody uses what they have in a different way. And personally, mentally, they're just machines.
Financially speaking, how are you dealing with, because I'm guessing you are not making big money yet. How do you manage your career, traveling, coaching, expenses? All is very expensive. Do you have a
It's
sponsor?
yeah, actually. So just recently, I don't know if you can see,
The other.
Theodora.
Nice.
So I just started working with an agent. His name's Juan Del Brunner. And I started working with him and his agency I think I signed a contract a couple weeks ago. And they actually got me Diodora. So Diodora, I'm fully sponsored by them now, shoes, outfits, everything. So I'm very grateful for that. But my mom is the one that's taking care of everything. I mean, my parents, they pay for everything. They help me out. I mean, like I said before, I am an only child and I am spoiled. So I'm extremely lucky for this, and I know how lucky I am. I'm not one of these spoiled kids that kind of take stuff for granted. I mean, I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in and the family that I was born into. But yeah, I'm lucky enough they pay for everything, for travel. Whenever I get money from the tournament, I just have the money from the tournament wired into her account until I'm ready to financially have a stable money line. But until then, that's what I've been doing. So I'm very lucky.
Okay, I heard that the top 100 players, I'm talking about men's, these are the one making money, right? The top 100, top 120, maybe top 150. How about women's tennis? Which ranking will allow you to make money? Any financial difference?
That's a tough question because the WTA and the ATP are very different. Um, because I have some friends that play on the tour, the ATP tour, and they go to challengers and they have everything paid for. They have hotels paid for, per diem for the day, to get food, things like that. And the WTA, I mean, you don't get anything until you're at a WTA 125, which is the lowest level. But they have the challengers are maybe 60Ks and they have everything paid for. Um, so I think in that aspect, it's a little bit harder for the women to make a living, but I do understand that the competitiveness of the men's tour is a lot. Well, I would think that is a lot more than the women because all of the men are extremely physical and you
Hmm.
actually have to have better tennis or a bigger serve or things like that to penetrate through the rankings. But women, if you're physically a beast and your tennis is average, I think it could go a lot farther. But making a living, I mean, I'm assuming you would have to be top 150. That's
Mhm.
like the top, I would say.
Yeah.
The 150, I think, is the cap range of the rankings where you're actually making good enough money to make a living because there's so many expenses.
Ex-
It's really difficult.
Talking about expenses, and an estimate yearly, how much is you have to, if you're planning your 2024, you can, how much money you have to consider expend for the whole
Ooh.
year?
Um, I think I did this on an Excel sheet at the end of the year. I think it was something like 17,000. I'm I think it was right around there. I think that's what last year was,
Okay.
but
With
I'm not.
what is that money covering? Also the
Oh,
coaching expense?
no, not even. No, no, no. That's not coaching.
Oh,
That has no coaching, nothing included. That's hotels, plane flights, food. Yeah, all of those, everything else, stringing, yeah,
So
all of those. But that's not including the coaching fees. That's not including the fitness fees. That's not including anything else.
and how many people working right now for you? I mean,
Ooh.
the technical staff. How many people you have?
So this year has actually been a huge year for me. I started working with, I now have two fitness coaches. I have one for in the gym. I have one for on-court specific movements. I do both 3 times a week. I have my coach that I work with full-time every day, Alberto. I have, I actually started working with a psychologist as well this year. And yeah, so big team, and my agents, obviously, my agents now as
And how
well.
do
So
how do you said 70,000 the traveling and the expenses, right? But
17,
how do you afford the team?
my parents. I'm not gonna lie and say that I have a bunch of money saved up from what I'm doing, because it's, I mean, it's a lie. Like, it's impossible to make.
So you're talking about what, 140,000, 100 a year, 150,000 a year, maybe. I mean, total.
No. So it's 17,000, like
No,
one
but
seven.
I 1.7.
1.7 was for the expenses for the year.
I know 7. I
No,
thought 70. But
not 70. No.
oh, okay. But listen, but how about this? Because you said that not including the coaches,
Yeah,
but
that's not including the coaches.
including the coaches. Any ideas?
Including everything. Ooh, I don't know. I would really have to do the math.
Okay. Okay. No,
But
because
I can tell you
it's good
after.
for people to know because they have a sometimes unrealistic view about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, the last 2 years, I didn't have a crazy consistent coach. I didn't. I had my same consistent fitness guy that I was
Okay.
working with, but it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't as much, as many expenses as it is
Okay.
now.
Okay. A question for the audience. You have a few more minutes for a few more
Yeah.
questions?
Oh,
Are
no,
you
I
good?
have time.
Thanks. I hope you're feeling comfortable, feeling
I
good.
am.
How tall are you? Somebody for the audience, and what do you think is the height is the well, you talk about the advantage, right? And the advantage of being tall is an advantage, right? In
Yes.
WTA.
Yeah. So I'm 5 foot 10 inches, but I think 1.78 in the metric, whatever you guys
Yeah,
use in Europe.
it's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
It's fine.
1.7. I just don't know. But yeah, no, height helps a lot.
But
And
any hopes for the short girls
oh,
to
of course. Yeah,
to
yeah.
become top players in the WTA?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely still hope. I can't say that there's a crazy amount of shorter girls in the top 20. Like, they're all pretty tall. Even the not extremely tall ones, they're still about 5'6", 5'7". They're a good height. I mean, height definitely helps with serves. I mean, if you have a huge serve in women's tennis, it helps you a lot.
Okay.
Um, I mean, same as in men's as well. But for women, and moving around the court as well, generating power. But if you're tall, you have to be able to move well. I mean, you can be tall and not move, but still struggle, you know?
So I'm guessing you work a lot of movement drills, right?
Yeah, I have to, because
What do you do? Side to side, side and back.
yeah, just all around the court, especially with my fitness women that I've been working with. We've been doing a lot of different kind of balls, moving back for balls, and working on clay as well. I think clay helps a lot, because on hard it's a lot easier, because you keep your footing, you're stabilized. But on clay, there's so many different conditions that you have to adjust to, and I think it really helps when you work on movement.
Also, another question from the audience is, what do you study? What is your degree from college?
So I graduated with a bachelor's in marketing, and I minored in accounting and psychology.
Oh, you're very well rounded.
I guess so, yeah.
So you can manage your money, your mind, everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Good, 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 good. So planning. How do you plan the your tennis calendar? What do you take into account? What do you take into account when you're planning your calendar?
Like at the beginning of the year for tournaments and stuff.
Yes.
So I'll sit down with my coach and we'll draw up a list of all the tournaments that we see on the schedule. We'll figure out when preseason ends and when the first tournament should be. And then from there, we have to figure out how many we think we can go in a row for, how many, like what places of the world we want to go to. If we know more people in Europe, maybe we go to Europe to cut on some expenses. Or if we know people in South America, the same thing, or Central America, same thing. But yeah, it's mainly just choosing which part of the world you want to go to. The expense is not as much of a big topic as I would think, but yeah, just what makes the most sense. So my schedule right now, I have next week. This is my last week of preseason. Started yesterday. So next week I'm playing in a tournament in Naples, Florida. That's 2 hours away from where I am. The week after is another tournament in Florida. And then my coach and I are going to Europe for, I think, 2 months.
Clay courts.
The first two are clay, and then everything else in Europe will be hard court indoor and uh, indoor carpet. I don't think I've ever played on carpet before, so that should be interesting.
When you are a kid, you kids to say, okay, I want to be number one in the world. I want to win a Grand Slam. As they get older, right? They see the reality, and dreams are still there, but maybe different. What is your dream now?
My dream, my long-term dream or my short-term dream?
All dreams you have.
All dreams I've had. I mean, making top 100 would be in doubles would be great for me. I think playing in a slam is
This
probably a
year,
dream. Yes, I hope so. I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, but I mean that's obviously what the goal is. But if it doesn't come, I'll be patient and I'll wait for my time.
and if you, let's say you have to choose a Grand Slam to win, which one would you choose?
Um,
Or you can see yourself winning it.
for me, I would say U.S. Open, and I mean, to be completely honest, if I could choose one tournament to go to, it would not be US Open. I would choose Australia or somewhere really cool. But to play in and to win, I think it would be US Open. Just because I'm a big family person, and to have all my family, obviously all of my family is here in the US. And I think to have all of my family there supporting me and my parents watching, my grandparents, um, just seeing me on court, I think that would be the most special experience I could ever ask for. So,
Good. What is the highest ranked player that you ever practice and or play against or with?
um, I played against Sarah Ronnie. Yeah, she was top 5 in the world in singles and one in the world, obviously, in doubles. I've played her in singles and doubles. She's actually a great example of what I was talking about earlier with, I mean, the tennis isn't, obviously, she's super solid, but it's nothing crazy special. She doesn't have the best forehand in the world. She doesn't have the best backhand in the world. But physically and mentally, she's a machine. That's how she beats people. And tactically, she's just on another level than everyone else. But I've played, unfortunately, I had the opportunity of playing her in singles. She crushed me. Um, but I mean, physically she was just so much better. I couldn't get a ball past her, and she bullied me physically and was super mentally tough. In doubles as well, I mean her hands are unbelievable. Doesn't have a big serve, but kicks it really well on clay. But yeah, she was probably the highest ranked singles and doubles player I've played.
Do you see yourself competing toe to toe with a top 10 player right
In
now? Competing, I mean,
doubles?
singles, competing. I mean, let's say you're scheduled to play Sabalenka, Onshabur, Iga Swiatek. How do you see
Uh,
yourself? Are you a
um,
confident person? You think you can beat them or make have them forcing them to the
I don't I don't think so. I mean, I'm not a super negative person, but I'm also very realistic. Um, I mean, physically, they're just like I right now with, I mean, I just kind of started working on being super physical and aiming for that level, but I mean, they're just on another level. Like you put me on the same court with Iga, and I'm sure she could run circles around me on the court, to be completely honest with you. Or Sabalenka, she could probably overpower me. Um, and I just think I would be really nervous if I had to play them. But I don't know. I mean, I think it could be competitive, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're where they are for a reason. You know what I mean? So,
good,
mhm.
good, very honest answer. But people wants to know that. Um, Final things and the final questions. Anna, three questions from my students to you. The high school players that I have, the girls said,
Yeah.
Coach Daniel, ask Anna, how do you deal with nervous before the match when they're frozen before the match? What would you tell them?
Oh, I mean, I'm one person to get very nervous before
And
matches,
what do you do?
but I don't know. I mean, I just tell myself I do it a lot more recently. I just tell myself I'm not going to be thinking about this match in 10 years. I'm not going to be thinking back, wow, I was so nervous in that match on December 20th, 2023. You know what I mean? So just go out there, enjoy it while you can. And if you win, great. If you lose, fine. You learn either way. It's a learning experience, everything. And what I've noticed as well, if you look at total percentages of like Andy Murray, how many points he's won in his life, or Nadal's points, or Djokovic's points, he's won 52% of the points that he's played. 52.
Mm,
And the guy's one in the world, has won, I don't even know, 24 Grand Slams. And he's only won 52% of the points that he's played. When in reality, I mean, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like, oh, I want to win at least 80% of the points I play. It's impossible.
mm,
And tennis is one of the sports too that you can lose, you can win more points than your opponent and still lose the match.
mm.
What other sport does that exist in? So at the end of the day, when I'm going on the court and I'm nervous, I'm like, why am I nervous? Just relax, do what you've been practicing, have fun, enjoy it. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't, try to problem solve, and just at the end of the day, just have fun. There's no pressure.
Great. The other question is, ask Anna, when should you change your game plan, plan A to plan B, switch when things are not working? It's a good
It is a
question.
good question. I mean, if you're playing and I don't know, you're just making balls like you usually do, just putting balls back in the middle of the court, and they're crushing every single ball. Winner, 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 winner. Try to change it up. Try to change the trajectory of the ball. Try to maybe hit a little bit higher. Throw in a couple slice. Change up your game plan. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. I think that at that point it's just very stubborn tennis. You need to be able to recognize, you also need to be calm enough to recognize what's going on, what's happening in the match, what tactics are working, what tactics are not, if you need to change it up, if you need to speed up the serve, if you need to kick the serve more. Um, but yeah, I think when you see things aren't working, or just try different things, see what makes someone uncomfortable, because everyone is uncomfortable with something on the court.
Correct. But how soon you should change that? Let's say you're losing 3-0, 3-1, 4-1. Are you personally changing in that moment, or you're giving yourself more time to see if the plan might
I
work?
would give myself more time. because
Okay.
I've played a lot of matches where I play the way I'm supposed to play, and say the girl is playing unbelievable, hitting lines, everything for 3 games. And I'm sorry, but 3-0 is like a magic score for me. That's when people are up here and they come down. I would say ride it out a little bit longer. And if it keeps going, then change something. But if it's only 3-0 or 2-0 or even 4-1, you have a whole nother set. You have a whole nother 2 sets. You should just wait to see if anything changes. Keep staying what you're doing, and maybe they start to miss. You don't know, but if they start to miss, then play the same way you have to play, and if they keep doing that again, then try it again, and if not, then you change.
Great. And the last question for my students are, Coach, uh, I'm very confused. I don't know how to start the matches. Just should I keep the ball in play or should I go out for my shot from the beginning?
Um, the way I was always taught um, was to play very basic tennis in the beginning. Just focus on the serve and the first ball, and maybe the ball after the first ball as well. If you focus on making those 2 shots, it helps a lot because, I mean, tennis as well, you don't get past, I think there's some stat where it's everything is between 1 and 4 shots. So if you focus on those shots in the beginning, you focus on making the first serve or going big on the first serve, hitting a second serve, and making the next ball. It's way better than getting a ball in the middle of the court and then trying to hit it as hard as you possibly can. It makes no sense. For me, I think going middle until I kind of get the groove of being in points helps, and then I go from there. But I wouldn't say try to swing as hard as you can or be super crazy aggressive from the beginning. But that's just me. Everybody's different as well.
Great. And as a coach, should I teach my young girls, students, tennis students, to hit the ball as hard as they can from the beginning? I mean, as early as they can in their development? Or you will focus more on being consistent first and then as they get older, hitting hard? Because I see so many coaches in academies just teaching that. Just hit the ball hard, hit the ball hard.
Personally, I don't really agree with that outlook. I think just because someone hits the ball hard doesn't mean that they're going to be good at tennis. I mean, I think that consistency and movement is way more important because, I mean, if a 10-year-old girl is hitting the ball super hard at 10 years old and the other one can barely hit the ball hard, I mean, she's going to grow, she's going to get strong, and once she grows into her body, she's going to be able to get that power. I don't think there should be any rush on the power. I'd rather develop a strong base instead of having a I don't know, somebody trying to hit the ball as hard as they can at 8 years old. I mean, I don't think that really makes sense. That's just my
And
opinion. But
even 12, 14 years old?
yeah, I mean, I think at any age, I think the base should be consistency, strategy, movement. I think that should all be focused on before the power. Because if you don't know how to move to the ball, but you know how to hit hard, you're not going to be able to hit hard if you can't move to the ball. You know what I mean? It doesn't add up. You move to the ball, you hit the ball. If you're in the right spot, then you can develop power. Then you can get in the gym more. Then you can catch the ball more out in front. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Slice, backhand matters. I mean, you work on forehand also. Do you work on slice? Would you suggest young players develop, especially girls, slice?
I think in women's tennis, slice is extremely important. I think it's very helpful because not a lot of girls do it on tour. A lot of it is more just bang, bang, bang.
Mm.
I mean, you see somebody like Barty, who's super well rounded. I mean, you see how much her slice disrupts every single female player on tour, or
Yes.
disrupted because she's retired now. But I think it's a very good tool to have, especially if, say, your backhand's not working well, or I mean, how are you supposed to know if they don't like your opponent doesn't like the slice to the forehand when you can't even hit a slice to the forehand, you know? I would say to develop every part of the game. Slice, even drop shot, lob, spinny, everything. I think it helps because then you have more answers when you can't beat your opponent or you think you can't beat your opponent. You have more tools to resort to.
And to finish this, and thank you so much for your time. You were very kind, very generous. Give a few advices first to parents of junior players. What would you tell them?
Parents,
Yes,
oof, their tennis parents are the craziest parents.
I can tell.
I I also don't have kids, so I don't know how I would act if I was a parent. But I think a good thing that my parents helped me with, they didn't really get too involved. They just kind of they trusted my coaches. They kind of sat back. They let them do what they had to do. If something wasn't doing well or I wasn't doing well, they would kind of ask questions, but they wouldn't be telling me what to do on the court or yelling at my coaches in front of me or doing all these things. For my advice for parents is just to find a good coach, someone you trust, someone your kid enjoys playing with, and let them have fun. Let them develop. If you want to help them maybe after their lessons or you want them to serve a little bit, that's fine. But I think just being too hard on them and pushing them too hard, I think that is the biggest mistake that parents could do. But I'm also not the person to talk. I mean, that could have worked for, I don't know, say a couple girls on tour. Maybe when they were little, they were the parents, but maybe that worked for them. I don't know. But personally, I think that parents should take a step back and respect the people that are working with their children.
Now, an advice for coaches working with girls. What would you tell them?
Coaches working with girls. Coaches working with girls, I would say, like my best advice for them.
Yeah, I mean, because they sometimes they have no idea how to coach girls. I mean, I'm talking about little ones and also teenagers or college players also. You have that experience. You've been through that.
I've heard a lot of different coaches say, some coaches say they like coaching women better or girls better, and some coaches say they can only coach guys. With girls, we're more emotional. I think we need more of a stable character, not somebody who's going to have a bunch of different moods, like get super pissed one day and then be super relaxed. I think there just has to be a happy medium and there has to be an understanding because our hormones make us go like this all the time. And I think coaches, male and female, they need to be able to handle that because for a lot of coaches, that's a lot. And for a lot of people, it's a lot as well. But especially girls that are going through that teenager phase when they're just like their hormones are developing more and more and everything's changing and their brain is working and then society with TikTok and just everything going on. I mean, I think the coaches should be stable for them or try to be like an outlet because these girls have a lot going on in their lives.
And the last two, to junior players, girls, 15, 14, they're dreaming to be professional players. What would you tell them?
What I would tell them is if they're dreaming these things, they need to be doing similar things to what pros are doing. They need to be eating well. They need to be warming up before practice. They need to be cooling down after practice. They need to try to be having a good attitude. That's what kills me when people say, oh, I want to be this, I want to do this. But then it's like, oh, but you have to eat well, go to bed at this time, focus at practice, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, I don't do that. And it's like, okay, well, how are you supposed to be as great as them then? So my advice to them would just be, if you say you want to be one in the world, you everything Djokovic does. You mirror everything Serena did. That that would be my advice.
Great. And the last one, professional tennis, I heard, is more aside of the tennis skills and talent, a lifestyle preference, traveling, training, hotels, loneliness. Do you really love it or you like it?
I love it. I really, really love it. And I know a lot of girls who can't handle it because they think it's too much traveling or there's no consistency. But personally, I mean, I have my whole life for that. I have my whole life of waking up, taking the same pills, making my same smoothie, taking my kids to the school. I have my whole life for that. I'm good. Like, I would rather travel the world, get to see so many different countries, different customs, different people, different experiences. This is honestly, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it gets tough sometimes being away from family. That's my only thing. I really wish I
Probably
could see
that's
my family more.
the hardest for you.
For me, that's the hardest. Yeah. I don't mind the lack of consistency or the lack of the same thing every day. I mean, like I said, I have the rest of my life for that. I can do the same thing over and over again. When I'm 50 years old, it doesn't matter, you know? But for me, I wish I could go see my family more. Or I wish that I could take a week off and not, or like take a week off to go see my family in the middle of season and not feel guilty about not playing. You know what I mean? It would be nice to have a normal life where I could go home for every holiday. Like I couldn't go home for Thanksgiving this year, which, and it really got me emotional because my parents FaceTimed me when they were at dinner, and that was the one time that all of my family were together. There were about 14 of them, and they were all sitting at the table, and I was in Brazil, and I just started breaking down on the phone. I was so upset because I was like, I really wanted to be with them. So that's the hardest part for me.
Okay, look at the tennis ball. I don't know if you like Wilson. I have this Ben and Wilson. Which one you like more? Ben
The
or Wilson? Wilson.
Wilson.
Okay, what would you tell the tennis ball if you have to talk to this little thing? What would you tell?
About what?
What would you tell the tennis ball if you have to talk to the tennis ball?
If I
What
had
would
to
you like?
talk to this tennis ball,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. What would you say to this tennis ball?
Get in, please.
Oh, go in. If I
Go
could
in.
talk to
Yeah.
the tennis ball, oh my gosh, I would say every single time that I hit you, you need to go in the court.
it's, a, it's a good point. And are you practicing
Yeah,
now later?
I practice in about 20 minutes at 2.
Okay. How much? How long is going to be the
Uh,
practice?
this one, I had a longer practice in the morning for 2 hours. And the one it's going to be for about an hour, and it's going to be more working on stuff that I struggled with
Okay.
in
And
the
I'm just
morning.
curious about how heavy is your racket?
Ooh, I think it's about, so I actually have the Wilson Light, but the guy that helps customize my rackets, he added weight in there, so I'm not sure exactly what it is. I want to say now it's about 316,
Oh,
317. Yeah,
okay.
so
And the
something
size,
like that.
head size?
The head size is 1619.
1619. Okay.
Yes.
And the which grip you using for what size of
Uh,
grips? Grip.
I think it's two. Or doesn't it go one, two,
Yeah.
three,
You have
four?
four. Yeah, I use 4.5. Me
Oh
three
wow.
3/8.
Wow,
Yeah.
I think I used two. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And last one, a tension on the
48.
strings. 48. Okay. Okay. But that changes, right? For tournaments, altitude, right?
Yeah.
Surfaces changes.
Yeah, and altitude you go tighter. So you increase the number, because if I kept 48 in altitude, the balls would go
Yeah.
over the fence. Yeah. So yeah.
And course surfaces, clay, hard clay. Are you changing the tension also
Uh
or not?
Not as much between surfaces. Well, between hard and clay, for me, it isn't crazy different. It's just the altitude for me.
Okay. Okay. And thank you so much. Wishing you the very best, you and your coach, your team, your family. And this interview will be downloaded on my YouTube channel soon. So I'm going to share the link so you can share the interview. And I hope you had a great time. A good time. I have it at least.
I did. I had a great time. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who watched.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And I hope I see you
Yeah, I hope
soon.
to see you too.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye bye. Thanks.